Hello everyone, Zelrant here, and for today's video on Lost Sword, we're going to be taking a look at both the tier list on Prudwin as well as Loot and Waifu's website, and that's because they both have updated with the latest debut unit that we got on Global, which is also new for the Korean version, and that is Neo Bedivere. And with that, I'll also talk a little bit about Neo Bedivere myself, as I have a copy of her, and she's used quite extensively in my team. And so let's look at Prudwin here. Now, they have multiple tier list here in terms of what they're good at, like PvE early, PvE late, raids, and PvP. And just know for PvE early, I know people that are playing it right now, what they're referring to it in terms of early is chapters 1 through 34. I think a majority of us have not gotten out of the early game yet, or what they consider the early game. Because I know, like, right now, I was stuck on, like, chapter 25 for a while, finally passed it, and now I'm kind of breezing through, I think, 27 or 28 now. But that is the early game, and then after that, they consider hard mode up to chapter 30, and then hell mode all the way up to chapter 20. Late is basically everything after that. Then you have the raids, and then PvP. So that's kind of what they define it as there. Now, Loot and Waifus just has a default one tier list set section, and that's just going to be their overall value in terms of your account as a whole. So let's look at it where they have it here on the early, PvE early. They have her as a sport as S+. Now, you want one thing with Prudwin 2 is these multi-purpose units, because Neo Bedivere is a multi-purpose unit. They have her in two categories. They have her both as support and a healer, because she can provide heals. And they have her as S for healer, S+ on the support side for PvE early. So, absolutely great unit there. I completely agree with this. She has been in everything I've done PvE-wise up to this point. Like, I'm on chapter 27-ish. 28. And then let's see where she's going to, where they kind of see her going into the late game. Now, people on the Korean server get the tester out on that at this point. Or if you've kind of really been pushing it really hard, you could be potentially in the late game here. And they basically have her in the same slots. PvE late, the only difference is that Merlin kind of fell off there a little bit. But she has held her places there and has stayed as an S+ in the support side, and then healer side S. But then the crazy thing is, if you look at raids, which one thing I noticed is it's the complete opposite, which is on the support side, she's an S, but healer, she's S+. Now, so far from doing raids, I 100% agree with this swap. And the biggest reason now she's a better healer in raids versus PvE is not that she's healing more, it's that healing's not as necessary that I have found. It's more of a DPS check. But you do need healing. So when it comes to having a healer in the raids, you just need someone that's good enough to keep them alive, versus having, say, having someone like her, Isolde, in there to, and I think they've moved her down. Actually, wasn't she S+ at one point? They must have moved her down. But you do not need the overhealing that Isolde provides. And so Bedivere is crazy good for that. She's able to do a lot of damage herself. And so having her to be able to heal and do damage and then also give support, she's still S in there. The crit hit is crazy good there. So this absolutely makes sense for it swapping in raids, because her healing is crazy good when you're in a scenario where you more of a DPS check and needing less healing than some other content like the PvE story modes. PvP, though, they have her dropping down. Now, I have not pushed heavily into PvP yet. I'm still in, like, I'm higher on the rankings, but right now it's just, I'm over-leveling people. So I haven't really got the feel for her in the PvP, because she is I have been using her in PvP. They have her as a B tier. I can kind of see that, because she doesn't really do much in terms of what you're going to want heavily in PvP when you're kind of fighting, like, even level teams with, like, similar gear stats. And that is because, like, when you have someone like Lancelot, who has a super early ultimate, can kill the backlines very well. You have Claire, who's pretty bad in most places, but her stun and that kind of stuff is really good on the PvP side of things. I mean, it's just outright makes a sense. She is focused on buffs that are really good on just fighting predictable PvE enemies. But when it comes to doing PvP, when you're needing more stunning and different things, whatever, based on whatever the meta is going to be at some point in the future to react to it, he definitely falls off there. So it does make sense. I'm using her in PvP. She does quite fine with her damage and lifesteal and all that, but it definitely doesn't seem to do anything noticeable. But I haven't really fought teams that are even matched yet. So When that happens, I'll probably have to shift and actually build a dedicated PvP team. But until I need to, right now she's quite fine there. So, I mean, have her in B tier. She's not absolutely trash at it. She's just not really providing much in terms of support that you actually want for it. So a lot of that makes sense. And let's see where Loot Waifu has her. And he has her at right here, right at the tippity top as well, tier 0. Makes sense if you're looking at the characters and overall. She's just all around good in everything, except like you saw in Prudwin PvP. So definitely great. Pushing PvE is going to actually help you in PvP right now. Because like I said, I'm over leveling people. And you know how you over level people? Pushing farther in PvE and getting all the extra EXP to level yourself up. So if you can push through PvE, you're going to do better in PvP. So she is great right now for it. And then tags, yeah, lifesteal, crit hit, attack, like all kinds of crazy good stuff for the PvE. So they list pros: jack of all trades, master of most of them. I like that, master of most of them. Amazing healer, good buffer with crit rate and a team, attack for herself on top of that, decent damage dealer, which makes sense. If you equipped her with an added target bows and cards with the same passives, so Lisa's card, which I actually have that and I've used it on her and she's crazy good. Especially when I'm like getting through chapter 25, she was my core DPS because she has the healing, and then I brought Isolde from like my big healer. Then I also brought Diane for more healing, because the only way to survive that was just to out heal it. So I had to drop Tiamat just so I could have additional. I had another support unit, I think Aaron, for more defense or damage reduction. And then I added in Diane, even though she didn't really provide much other than shields and a little bit more healing and all that. So she was the DPS carry in that fight, and it worked out quite well. That was how I was able to beat it, because I couldn't bring my main DPSs because you just died without enough healing. And so with her having that extra little bit of healing while doing great damage, that is definitely really nice. And so I'll have to kind of mess with that. I'm worried more about that end game when it comes to the specific stats, because I'm constantly upgrading gear as we get new item level stuff. So that's kind of thinking long term. Immunity to CC is needed for some bosses in campaign, while her CC is also powerful. 1.5 seconds on a 9-second cooldown. She brings a lot of utility team. Yes, the CC is crazy good too. Some of these bosses, if you can just stop them for a couple seconds, it brings you a little bit closer towards your ults firing again, which is how I survived with that one boss on chapter 25. And then first healer that can actually scale with crit and not focus just on attack, since it's a lifesteal based on damage. So that is the big thing, because all the healers hate crit, but she loves it because it's based on damage done, which crit counts towards doing more damage. So overall, really, really good. I do like the markings that they have here. But let's go ahead and go back to Prudwin here. Let's actually look at what they say specifically on herself. I mean, it's a lot of the same stuff up here. But one thing also is the lack of defensive utility they mentioned. It's kind of one of the cons, and that she needs a lot of gear to have survivability. I haven't noticed that issue with her yet. She doesn't die before like the rest of your team wipes. But my situation is a little unique because I actually max duped her out. And so she is definitely significantly stronger than the rest of my team at this point. And so that isn't going to be an issue till we probably look at end game and we start really building up with top tier gear in the end. And then kind of if you're fighting enemies with high crit resistance and damage reduction, her heal's not going to be as good. So she has some cons to her in that aspect. You can work around these things. Overall, she's going to be great regardless there. And then when they talk about her card, it is a very mid card. It's tailored heavily towards her, and you can kind of see they have it on the A tier list here. Now, and I think when you actually look at it, because they actually on Prudwin also tell you what you want to do when you get dupes. And her card is a do not get unless you max awaken her. And so when you can kind of see her on the build, they say you get her transcend before card. And if you're going to transcend her, go all the way to the top transcend. They're not saying you have to awaken her, but go to the top one. But her card right here down on A tier, and it gives a little bit of, I think, HP and some crit damage, and then you can kind of see her activate skill final damage. Nothing really crazy. You have plenty of other cards that are just better for her and have better general purpose, like Lisa's. I have Lisa's, and it's the one I've used on her. Just outright more damage coming out of that. And so it's not worth it at all. She's really good with her dupes. Like I said, I've max awakened her, and she has been crazy good on my account. And so that's kind of the card there. And so overall, I pretty much agree with everybody what they're saying on here. There's a reason I've max awakened her. And kind of talking about it, if people are asking in terms of whether or not you should pull for her and whether or not you should pull for dupes, I say 100% yes. She is a very good unit to actually pull for a lot of dupes. As you've probably known, if you've been playing for the last couple days since this game is released, they are throwing pulls at us like crazy. And she is at that level where she's going to carry for a long time. She's always going to be good in your teams. And like right now, if you're built like my main core team right now, I have as my like main PvE team is the ranged damage dealing team. So I have Galahad as my tank, who's buffing all my ranged units. So I have her, who's buffing crit hit, as well as doing damage, some healing herself. I have Tiamat doing magic damage from the range in the back line. Like those are the main core 3 that I have on my team right now. And then I can mix and match anyone else in there as needed. But those 3 together, then I have like Isolde if I need that extra big healing on there, which she's mostly in there half the time. It's just overall very, very good. And right now with the hardest content, like if I just need even more tanking, I just throw, even though DN doesn't really work as well in the ranged, she's just added support in terms of keeping my team alive. But right now, she is kind of a core team member that works really well alongside Galahad and Tiamat, which is one reason that she's getting a lot of use for me. And then, yeah, in the future, she's not going to fall off. She doesn't have to be in the ranged team. She can work in other teams because she has like all of her stuff's generic. And so I think she's a good one to invest in. And we get a ton of pulls. That's the other thing. It took me about 200 pulls to max dupe her. And that's because I did reroll on her banner and got 3 copies of her on those rerolls, so that helped a lot in getting it within 200 pulls. But the thing is, I still have like 200 pulls left. Like in terms of crystals, 200 pulls left over for future banners. Plus, we're still getting tons of pulls thrown at us from doing the story, doing the events, and other content. I think at her level, she is absolutely worth it to take all the way to the max dupes. Because who knows what we're getting in the future. You don't know if they're going to be crazy good like her. The holy units are always good because the holy units are element neutral, so they don't have to worry about weaknesses. So they're going to be work in any element. And yeah, overall works good with the best units in the game, Galahad and Tiamat, which makes her even better. But that's just my thoughts on her. That's the tier lists. Just let me know your thoughts on her if you have her and how she's working out for your team. But that's it for now. If you like my content, if you can like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.